this debate is on is abortion morally permissible, and you guys can have your opening statement. Who wants to go first?
I would let you start, since you're against it, and yeah, everything is per se moral until someone is against it. So, right?
Okay, I got you. That works for me. Okay, so I guess I would say I just put it in terms of a pretty brief argument against the permissibility of abortion, which is the first premise is that it is generally wrong to intentionally kill innocent human beings. The second premise is that the unborn are innocent human beings. The third premise is that abortion kills the unborn. And so the conclusion is that abortion is generally wrong. And I would say that that comes from a standpoint of so I mean people could dispute I guess the first premise. I've had a debate on that topic before. So is it always wrong to kill innocent human persons? And I would say that it's always wrong to intentionally kill innocent human persons either as a means or as an ends, if that makes sense. So I couldn't kill there's a there's an extreme moral difference between unplugging someone and allowing them to die of some other natural disease or something and smothering them with a pillow, for example. And the other thing that I would say is that I think people generally agree that it would be wrong to kill young children for any reason. And so my concern would be that I think we should extend that to even younger children who are still in utero. The question of whether the unborn are human beings is also something that I would say from a scientific perspective isn't really in dispute. The majority of embryologists agree that the unborn from the moment of fertilization are members of the human species. It seems like more of the dispute comes from the question of whether the unborn are persons, which is to say that they are people who are deserving of strong moral consideration. And that's something that we can get into in the discussion, because I think that might be where we're going to end up disagreeing. And then I also don't think it's in dispute that abortion directly kills the unborn. The question of the matter would simply be if the unborn matter or not. Yeah, I think that's sufficient opening statement.
Yeah. But Kanak, it's your turn. I'm gonna start the timer.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. You have rephrased your statement a little, your deductive argument a little bit, but still, I think I still have the same problem with it. You have formulated something of the type of all humans are mortal. Socrates is a human, therefore Socrates is mortal. In order for that to work, the first premise has to be that it is always immoral to intentionally kill an innocent human being. Most abortions intentionally kill an innocent human being, therefore most abortions are wrong. Is that like
Okay.
that's the only way
Yeah,
would work?
Yeah, I think that is. I think that's the way that I originally phrased it, and I think that actually would be the best way to phrase it.
Yeah, you just left out the always, so I just wanted to add it such that it is like logically correct, and I didn't want to do it without asking you first.
Sure. Yeah, I think the way that I rephrased it just
the way you phrased it, you added generally,
yeah.
which takes away
I added generally.
Yeah, which takes away like basically the deductive, like you can't deduct anymore the moment you say generally. When you say it is generally immoral to intentionally kill an innocent human being, and then you say most abortions, then you cannot go from that to the third statement because the abortion could be the edge case, right? Could be the case where it's not valid.
Okay, yeah, maybe if I had said it's prima facie wrong to kill an innocent human being, then abortion is prima facie wrong. But Yeah, I think I could. I think I can. I'm willing to defend the statement that it is always wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being
Okay.
and run the deductive argument from there.
And then you say most abortions intentionally kill an innocent human being, right?
Yes.
And then there with that, I also have a little problem because that would imply that there are abortions that do not intentionally kill an innocent human being, right? So that would mean
I think
either,
that. Yeah.
if you say most, that will mean that, right? So that would mean that some abortions kill guilty human beings, right? I don't think that you
No,
defend that, right? You don't
I
defend
think
that.
that some. No, I think what I
Okay.
would say is that depending on how certain people that I've talked to in the past define abortion, sometimes they will say things like a salpingectomy to treat an ectopic pregnancy is a
Okay.
kind of abortion,
Just
or
let
something
me.
like
Can I can I
C-section.
can I just walk you through like the so I have to walk you through that because it's like when you say there are abortions that do not intentionally kill an innocent human being, that would mean one thing out of three, okay? So there is only three options. So it's either some abortions kill guilty human beings, then that would be true, or some abortions do not kill human beings. That's actually my position, like the personhood argument. The third one would be some abortions do not intentionally kill an innocent human being, that would mean accidentally or something like that. So the purpose is not like the intention is not to kill an innocent human being, it's just an accident. So it must be one of these three. It can't be a fourth.
Yeah.
There is no
I
fourth
would.
option. But
Yeah,
what
I
I
would say.
think what
I
you
think.
actually mean, I don't think that you mean that actually, if I can may suggest to you something. What you mean it is that in some cases of abortions, the primary objective is not getting rid of the baby, but saving a mother's life, right? Is that what you mean by when you say
Yeah, I
most
would say that
abortions?
there are some. I would say that depending on how you define abortion, there are some abortions that do not intentionally kill an innocent human being.
I mean, they do intentionally kill an innocent human being. It's just not the primary objective. It's not. It's not
No,
the
I would.
goal.
No, I would actually say that they don't intend to kill an innocent human being, even if their death is foreseen. That would be my moral stance.
So it must be done accidentally.
Right.
It's like, oops, we didn't want to do it, but we did it. It's not. That's not the case. Like there is no abortion like that.
Well, if you would consider something like a salpingectomy for an ectopic pregnancy and a
Sorry,
kind of
I,
abortion, I would say
I
that
don't
that's
know what
sort
that
of.
is. I don't know what that
Okay,
is.
so an
But
ectopic pregnancy is.
I
Oh,
don't know if
sorry,
we
did
have
you
to.
want to say something?
Yeah, I don't know if we have to get into like edge cases. It's just like normal abortions. The goal, whether it's saving the mother's life or not, it's intentional to like no one would argue that the intention is to get to kill the fetus or to kill the zygote.
I think that some people would probably argue that, and I would say that de facto, whether they say they are not intending it, I would say that they are in fact intentionally killing a fetus
So you are
or
saying
an
that
embryo.
there are abortions that accidentally kill innocent, like that,
Well,
and accidentally kill innocent human beings.
so for instance, if you would consider, like I said, if you would consider, and we don't have to, if you don't want to get into the edge cases,
I
then I
mean, you
suppose
can
I can just
give
say
me an edge
yes.
case.
And
Give me an edge case. Give me an example of an abortion where the intention is not to kill the fetus or zygote or whatever.
okay, sure. So one example could be if a mother has uterine cancer and as part of her treatment for that, she receives chemotherapy. The doctor foresees that the fetus will probably die, but that is not his intention. And
Yet,
if the fetus could be saved,
yet,
he will save it.
yet that we would not call that an abortion. Like we would
Okay, just
either
some people would. So I guess that's the only reason that I put this whole stipulation in the syllogism, is because I
okay.
don't actually know your position. I didn't
Can you
know what
define?
direction this was going to go.
Can you define abortion then for me?
Yeah, give me a second here real quick. I have it somewhere in
That
here
would be
in my
good, I think,
notes.
because you seem to have like a special which is okay, which is totally fine.
Give me just 1 second. Yeah, I guess I would just say I would define abortion, especially the abortions that I'm opposed to, is the direct intentional killing of a living unborn human.
Yeah, so where the primary objective is to kill the zygote or embryo or fetus or whatever, right?
Yeah, and I would say that most people would probably say that the primary objective is to end the pregnancy,
Yeah.
but I would say that killing the unborn human being inside is the means by which that end is achieved.
Yeah, I mean that's like the whole matter of the debate is what we call what is being terminated, right? So I don't want to get fixated on the term, so because that's basically what we're discussing. But so you're basically saying if the primary objective is not, for example, to save the mother's life, then it's immoral, right? That's what you mean.
Sure. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can go with that for
Mhm.
the sake of the discussion.
Why for the sake of the discussion? Isn't that what you said?
Well, what I would say is I don't think that, for instance, if someone were to do an abortion procedure where they were directly and intentionally killing the fetus in order to save the mother's life, I would say that they should be pursuing other options to save the mother's life
No,
that
that
may
yeah,
result in fetal death.
yeah, but like when that's the only option basically to save the mother's life, then you would be fine with it, right?
I'm not aware of any medical cases where the only option to save the mother's life is to directly and intentionally kill the fetus.
Wait, you say you are not aware of cases? There are cases
I'm
where,
not aware of cases where that is the only viable medical option. I'm aware there are cases where doctors often
but
recommend abortions,
you know
but
you know that it you know how what birth like you know the history of a woman dying at birth, right? Like you must know that. Like
yes,
that's
yeah,
like a
I do.
known thing. Like that's something we as humanity have been battling like for forever. Like and
Yes, I
the
agree. No, I
the
agree that there are
bir-
that
the death at birth is like has been reduced by an immense amount by medication and lots of treatments, different types of treatments. But in some cases, the childbirth is a really dangerous process. That's just the way it is. It's just the facts are there. Like
100%.
and
I didn't want to give the impression that that's not what I believe. So
so
I definitely agree that, childbirth can be extremely dangerous, and there are
yeah.
definitely plenty of cases where the mother's life is at risk
Mhm. So in that
because of her pregnancy,
so just that we don't have to talk about this case anymore. In that case, you would be fine with it, right?
Let's just say yes.
You keep saying let's just say yes over, but you are basically agreeing with me, and when I'm asking you to agree with me, then you're saying let's just say. That's kind of, I don't know, that feels dishonest. That feels like you're saying yes because you have to, but you don't want to get pinned down on it.
I just think that the way that you're framing it is a little unclear when you say abortion is permissible because the mother's life is at risk. And I'm saying fetal death can be permissible because of the mother's life being at risk, but I would say that it's not permissible to directly and intentionally kill a fetus because the mother's life is at risk.
But
But I don't think
I
in
don't know
the
what that
modern
means.
world there are any. Okay, so
So
this is why I kept trying to go back to like what you kept
no,
calling
no, wait, but sorry, I'm so sorry.
cases.
Just before you go there are cases right now in the whole world where the doctor is like the probability. I have cases in my close family where the doctor is like there is a very very high probability that you're gonna die at childbirth, and we have to terminate that pregnancy at that stage to save the mother's life because they know that the way it looks right now, it's very very low probability that the mother is gonna die. Let's just say I don't know what some percentage that you like. So is there a certain percentage where you be like, yeah, that's reasonable to say, okay, we have to terminate this pregnancy, which means ending the life of the zygote or fetus, uh, in order to save the mother's life? Is that like you keep saying,
I would
yeah,
say
I would say yes,
I
but
would I would
do you
I
say
would say
yes?
that I agree that doctors recommend these sorts of things, but I would say that in any case that I'm aware of, there are alternative options where you treat the life-threatening condition directly that may result in fetal death, but is not per se an
So
abortion
you don't
because
believe
it's not intending.
so you don't believe that these cases exist where
No,
the mother has to be saved by having an abortion. You don't believe that these cases exist. You just don't accept the existence of it.
I would say that these cases are either exceedingly rare or yeah,
But
I would
okay,
just say
let's say there is just one.
they're rarer than
There is just one.
doctors say they are, you know.
Let's say there is just one for the sake of the argument. Let's just say there's one.
Mhm.
There's just one. Would you be
Yeah.
okay then with it? Don't say let's just say, please. I'm begging you.
No, okay, that's fine. I would say that if there was one case known where the only known way to save the mother's life is to kill someone else, I would say that no. I don't think that it's permissible to kill an innocent person in order to save someone else's life, but I would say that a pro-lifer could still be pro-life and say because the fetus is directly threatening the mother's life, then ordinary rules of self-defense would apply, and so you could kill that fetus.
But if it's not the mother that is doing that, like for example, she's pregnant and she's taking a pill for ending the development of the zygote or preventing implantation, then in that case, it would not be only her, but it would also be a doctor, or it would completely be a doctor that is doing the termination.
Yeah.
So in self-defense doesn't work there because you're basically like the doctor is basically helping her to do it.
I think cases of self-defense can still be permissible if someone else is stepping in to defend somebody else's life. Like,
but the baby is not
right,
intentionally, no, because it's not a case of self-defense in that. Like, I wouldn't see like a case of self-defense, because in order for it to be self-defense, the baby would have had to attack the mother intentionally.
No, I agree. That's why I don't think that. That's why I wouldn't take that stance. I'm only saying that it's.
But you just said it's
I think it would be
self-defense.
reasonable
It would
if
be
a
okay.
pro-lifer said that sort of thing. No, I'm saying.
No.
I'm saying that that is a pro-life position that exists, but that's no.
Yeah, what's your
sorry
position?
if I wasn't clear. That's not
Okay.
my position. No.
But what's your position? Is it? I think we
I
should
don't
just.
think it's permissible to kill innocent persons in order to save somebody else's life.
So you would basically make it illegal or morally impermissible to for all the women that are out there right now that whose life is in danger, which is just a fact. You just agreed that birth is something really dangerous, and you would just have like they would have to die, and the baby would have to be delivered. That's what you're saying. They would have to die.
So here's the problem: is that I don't think it's actually the case that abortion is the only medically viable option for women who are in these life-threatening positions. I think that there are other avenues that we don't pursue because they are less convenient.
Yeah, but that's just. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't want to be disrespectful, but this is like very, very far away from reality. Like that's just like you have just conceded that a childbirth is something that is very risky. It's just no pro-lifer would, by the way, debate this, and like all of like 99. Yeah, but you're basically saying it is possible to mitigate that risk, which essentially means that we already have the solutions to. You're basically saying that the risk is not there anymore because we have solutions to eliminate
I'm not
that
saying
risk.
the risk isn't there. So here, can I give some examples? Is that okay? Like so that we can like.
Sure, but we
step
have
away
to.
From...
No, we have to clear this point, like because like 99% of pro-lifers, you have a really special pro-life take. If you would even disagree that the mother's life can be saved from the zygote basically is so that the mother's life can't even be saved, that like even in that case that you would not permit abortions.
No, I wouldn't permit a direct and intentional abortion, but I would say that, and I've been trying to reiterate. Hold on.
What is a direct and yeah? What is that?
So a direct and intentional abortion would be something like a dilation and curettage abortion through, either by suction or by, using actual medical instruments to forcibly remove the fetus. It could be a medication abortion depending on how early the pregnancy is, or it could be a dilation and evacuation if it's a late stage pregnancy.
But you
Right? So those are
realize,
the things that I
yeah,
would morally protest to in in when we're talking about situations where the mother's life is at risk. I think there are ways to save the mother's life that will result in fetal death but are not strictly speaking abortions, like a mother receiving, if the thing threatening a mother's life is, say, um what's the word, um uh, uterine or ovarian cancer, I would say that you can pursue treatment for that cancer, and that treatment may unintentionally cause the death of the fetus. Another example would be if gosh, I forget what it's called, but this actually happened to my own mother. I think essentially it was something like her uterine wall was too thin and it was going to rupture if her pregnancy went too
do
far
you,
along. And so what they did
yeah,
was remove the uterus, and they managed to save my baby sister's life, but it may have been the case that she would have unintentionally died in that process. And
hmm,
I would say that that would also have
yeah.
been, that's perfectly, I would say that options like these are perfectly morally permissible. And
Yeah,
a lot of them do result in fetal death, but I wouldn't call them abortions.
yeah, you no, I wouldn't
Is
call
that
them
clear enough?
abortions either. Like, I don't know why you bring that
Okay.
up, because that's just not an example for an abortion. That's the
Okay, yeah,
problem.
so
Like,
then
that's the whole problem
just
that
to
I
make
have. It's not
myself
an
clear,
abortion.
I don't think,
So so,
well,
so
yeah,
there
so then
there
to
are
make
no,
myself clear,
so there are no unintentional abortions. There are only intentional abortions.
okay, yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. So therefore, I'm asking you, like, would you be okay with an, because you keep saying, yeah, I would not be okay with an intentional abortion to save the
Like
mother's life. I would not be
the
okay
reason
with an intentional abortion to save a mother's life. And I keep asking you, what is an intentional abortion? So you agree that there is no such thing as an unintentional abortion, right? We just wouldn't call it abortion. We would just call it
okay,
like
yeah,
a medical procedure
yeah.
that
I just
led to the
I
death
okay,
of the embryo, or
rather
yeah.
okay.
So
The way that I'll
that's not
phrase this
even
then is
topic of our discussion.
I don't think the intentional killing of an unborn human being is ever permissible. Does that clearly answer the question?
Not yet, because I still have to find out if you would say that women that have pre-existing conditions that would not survive childbirth have to die in order to save the fertilized eggs life. Do they have to die?
No, no, because
Okay,
I think
then
that because
you're
as a
okay.
matter of fact, I think there are other ways to save a mother's life that
But
don't
you
involve
keep
directly
flip-flopping
killing
between two things.
the
Like, you don't
unborn.
accept the
No, I'm not.
existence,
I'm not
but
flip-flopping.
do you accept the existence that these cases exist? Like, where there is no, there are no options to save both the mother and the child. Like, do you accept that there are cases where only one of them can survive, or you just say this is not reality?
I would say that these cases are extremely rare in developed countries.
But you realize that these cases exist, right? Where only one of them can survive. So you just said yes, basically, because you said in developed countries is not that rare. So let's, even if I would grant you that, which I don't, but even if I would grant you that,
Yeah,
like, would
I
you
think that
say to
at this
these
point our
underdeveloped,
dispute is about a matter of fact
yeah, but
about
would you,
whether
yeah, but
it's always
in that
possible.
case, does the mother have to die in these cases?
I would say
Or you
that, yeah,
can't. Or you
I would say
can't.
that we can't directly, just like we can't. Listen. Here's my position. If they are both persons, then it wouldn't be permissible to kill the mother to save the baby's life. So why would it be permissible the other way around?
Because
So the answer is no.
for me, I can explain it to you, but that would get into the matter. But in your position, you have to say, yeah, every woman that now gets pregnant, you have to tell her basically you have to die if you are not able to handle this pregnancy, which is not even like that low of a chance. Like
I
it doesn't even
hate,
matter.
I have to say, I have to jump in. I hate this
Yeah.
framing because
Why?
you are because what you're doing here is you keep re-widening the bullet that I have to bite when I'm saying no, specifically only in cases where it's literally medically impossible to save the mother's life any other way. And I'm
Yeah,
pointing out that that's almost never the case. There
yeah, but
are
that's
other
not true.
ways to save the mother's life that don't involve an abortion. Okay, so
That's
yeah,
just
we're
not
gonna
true.
dispute about that.
But
I don't think that that's true.
yeah, yeah, like medical.
You need to
Probably
actually
I have a
point out a
question.
case where this isn't true,
I
and we can
I have a
go through
question.
them.
Like, if you really dispute the fact that there are cases, like it's not like it doesn't even matter if it's a few cases. For morality, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter at all how many cases these are. But if you dispute the scientific fact that this is a reality, then I would say then wait 1 second, because then we can just look it up if you want, or we can just, I don't know, I don't think you should start using medical examples in the future because you don't really believe in the scientific. Like, you think they're lying. Like, you think they're basically just doing it out of convenience. Yeah, but you just said they're just basically saying, "Oh, fuck it. I'm okay with telling a woman to end her pregnancy, even though there are other options." And no one except you knows about this, which is also interesting.
Well, no, that's actually not true at all.
Yeah, but it seems like it since like it's happening so much.
Like, do you know what the field of bioethics is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a constant discussion in bioethics about different permissible options for women who are, experiencing life-threatening pregnancies, especially among pro-life bioethicists and stuff like that. And a lot of So the reason that I hate this framing is because you keep telling me, listen, because of your position, you have to look at every woman whose pregnancy is life-threatening and tell them that they have to die. And I'm telling you, no, that is not the case.
Why not?
Because
you just said
there
so.
are medically viable alternatives to abortion which can save the woman's life.
We are specifically talking about the ones where this is not the case.
Okay, yeah, but then that's not every woman who has a life-threatening pregnancy.
Yeah, but it is.
That's why I don't like the way that you're trying to frame this.
But you have a problem with definitions. It is not life-threatening if there is a cure for it, right? Like back in the days, like 200 years ago, maybe pneumonia was life-threatening, but now we wouldn't consider it life-threatening because there is medicine against that, right? So your definition of life-threatening is not correct. Because if there is a solution for that, then it's not life-threatening.
I would have thought that a life-threatening condition is just any condition that, if left untreated, will
would you say that
lead to death.
No. It's just not true. Like, that's not how we talk about disease.
Okay,
like
that's okay. That's fine.
Otherwise, yeah. Then I have to just repeat what I said before, because then you just have to say to every woman who has a life-threatening condition that where the probability is really high that she's going to die, that she has to die because it's morally impermissible for her to get an abortion. I don't know if you realize, but that's like no one, like literally, I don't know. I don't know any pro-lifer who is going in this direction, because it is so absurd.
Well, so
no one would want that.
Here's my question. If they are both actually persons, it wouldn't be permissible to directly kill the mother to save the baby's life, correct?
If they're both persons, then it wouldn't be correct to do that. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, then it wouldn't be correct to do it the other way around.
Yeah, but I agree. I agree that, but that's not your position. That's my that's. I don't agree with both being persons.
Okay, yeah, that's the matter. That's the matter that's in dispute.
But that doesn't save you from having to. But that doesn't save you from having to.
That's a bullet I have to bite.
Okay, then you. But okay.
So, why would you say, "Hey, just so you know, this is a crazy position that you're taking"? No, I would say it's a consistent position. Other pro-lifers like if they don't take that position, I don't think they're being consistent.
Yeah, but I think it's better to not be consistent than to ask every woman that is about to die that she has to die. Like, I just think it's better. It's just, and that's also why no one is biting that bullet, because it's just such a absurd thing to defend. Like, do you really accept? Do you really think that this is an acceptable position to have for a society where we just have to tell members of society, like, this is not a small fringe group that is doing that. Like, it's our sisters, our wives, or like, this is like a crazy position to take, to just say, yeah, you have to die. Otherwise, you're, I don't know, going to hell, or immoral, or.
Well, so, all right. Do you think that? All right, so no, the matter of the question is whether they are actually persons or not. Then, because you would agree that, let's say that the only way to save the baby's life is to kill the mother. Like, do we? So then we now have to walk up to someone and say, "I'm sorry, your baby has to die." Like, that it's the same position,
No,
just in reverse.
no, the mother can still not get it. Like, the
What do you
mother
mean?
can like, the mother can decide to sacrifice her life for the baby, but that doesn't make it immoral if she doesn't do it.
I would say that I don't
Do
in a
you
life
have
threatening
to?
situation like that, I wouldn't hold someone to the same kind of moral account as someone who is in a clear, state of mind.
Wait, I have a question. Do you think it's the same
Mhm.
thing if I'm being used as a human shield, or I jump in front of a bullet? That's not the same thing.
No, of course they're not the
Yeah,
same
so
thing.
that was your question. Like, that was basically your question. It's not the same thing. Like, if the mother decides to die for her infant, that's, or maybe I misunderstood you, but
Sure,
the
but
mother can still decide
yeah,
to
no.
to do that. But
Yeah.
the point is not. The
Unfortunately, an
point is
unborn
that
human isn't in the position to.
the problem is that your moral system forces her to commit suicide for her child.
No, it wouldn't be suicide.
Why? Would stop eating and drinking be suicide?
Yes.
Yeah. Why is not taking the medical precautions necessary to be alive? Why is that not suicide?
Well, I think it's just because I don't think that it would be a morally valid medical procedure.
It doesn't matter. It's still suicide, right?
No, I guess I just wouldn't call it that. But
Why not?
so here's the
Okay.
other thing.
Okay.
I would be in favor of it being legally permissible, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's the other thing, is because like this is something that's highly disputed, and because there are a lot of cases where it isn't necessarily clear whether the abortion, whether the killing of the unborn human was intentional or not. But, you know,
Wait. You would say it is legally permissible, so you are legally pro-choice, right?
I would say that pro-life laws that have carve-outs for abortions that save the life of the mother, I would say that I'm okay with those. Just because it's
Why?
not it's just a legal question of, it can be hard to. I don't think that it would be productive to have constant legal disputes over whether this was the sort of termination of a pregnancy that was ethically permissible or not. And
You
I
think
would
it's
say
not
that we should
worth
just
it to this?
prioritize saving mothers' lives.
So you think it's not worth it discussing the basically murder in your worldview? That's like the worst crime. There is no.
No, okay, so I guess I'll just keep doubling back. Yeah, I don't think it's permissible to intentionally kill persons. Not innocent persons, anyways. I don't think it's permissible to intentionally kill innocent persons. I
Your
think there
problem
can
is
be
not with
cases where it's
innocent.
very unclear.
No one is arguing that the baby is guilty.
No, okay. Well, just because it can be. All right, I don't have to if you don't want me to stipulate innocent, that's fine. Because I
No,
think
I have no problem with it. Like, innocence is not your problem. The problem is that you have two options basically. Like, either you go into crazy mode and you say, yeah, you have to die. You have to commit suicide basically in order for not be immoral. Which is in and of itself like you can argue that you wanting to exist
think that
can never be immoral.
Do you think that there are ethical situations where the only moral option is to either sacrifice your life or to commit something very evil? Do you think that there are ethical situations like that exist? For instance, if someone kidnapped you and said, you have to shoot this 3-year-old or I'm going to kill you and bomb a building.
Kill you and bomb a building. Okay, what's the point of your question? What do you want to get at?
The point of the question is just sometimes there are unfortunate situations where the only moral options are to either commit something very evil or to allow yourself to die.
Yeah, so I think that like when your life is at danger, that is like a situation where you cannot, like, no one could blame you for doing anything because you.
Oh no,
just
I
have
wouldn't I certainly wouldn't blame a woman who decided to have an abortion anyway.
You have to.
So there's a difference. We have to separate
You have to blame the doctor.
The wrongness
maybe.
of an action and whether someone is morally culpable for committing a wrong action. Those are two separate moral questions, right?
Wait. Let's untangle this because you're going a little bit nowhere. But look, and you say
I don't think it's nowhere.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stay with your example. You're basically saying, is it immoral to defend yourself even if in order to save your life, you have to commit atrocities, right? That was your question. So is it morally permissible?
That's objectively immoral,
no.
But
You're asking me a question you don't let me.
Means that we have to hold someone to a moral account for that action, especially if it was an extremely
let's
psychologically distressing situation.
I don't think that we have to make the difference between take someone morally accountable and morally permissible. Like, we don't have to make that distinction. We can just stick with, is it morally permissible? And I say, and I think you would agree with me, that it is always morally permissible to in order to save your life. Like, you cannot have a ethical rule that would have where you have to die. Like that.
Well, okay, so here's another consideration. This is a pro-life view. I'm not convinced of the pro-life view, but I think that this is.
Let's not jump from point to point, but you can also concede that point. Like,
no,
you can.
It's related. It's related.
Okay.
So, I think that, for instance, you could argue that something is self-defense even if someone isn't intentionally attacking you. For instance, if somebody is like a schizophrenic and they lose their meds, and because of that, they start freaking the fuck out and they grab a gun and they start shooting it all throughout the house. I think it would be permissible to kill them in self-defense even though they have not intentionally attacked you. Someone could argue, and I'm not entirely convinced of this position, but because I think that it's a viable position, I think that we could also make it legally permissible. Someone could argue that, yeah, sure, the fetus isn't intentionally harming the mother's life, but if it really is the only option to save the mother's life, how is it different from killing a schizophrenic with a gun?
I can give you better
causing harm.
Yeah, but you could
and
also.
So I think that you could make an I think that could be a valid exception.
Yeah, I agree, but let me just tell you that the example you're giving is not completely correct. A better example would be you're falling, and by falling you would kill someone. Like, because you could always argue that there is an active action by the schizophrenic, and so that's you defending against that active action. And in that
Okay, but
moment of
I would say
delusion,
but it's not an intentional action.
in that moment of delusion, that person intentionally does something and you're self-defending against that. But the case that we're discussing is not really that. The case is you have one person, you have another person, that person is, for example, unintentionally falling on that one person and would kill that person. And it's not the defense of the person that would be the victim of the killing. It's actually a third person, which is in that case the doctor, who would shoot that person out of the way, basically. That would be a correct analogy.
I think you could shoot someone out of the way. A more real life example would be like a plane hurtling towards a building, and you shoot down the plane.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. For example, yeah.
Yeah, so I think
so
I think that's also a pro-life position, and this discussion is definitely making me lean more towards that position. I will actually admit that.
Why? Like, wait, it makes you lean more into pro-life because you have to.
It makes me lean more into the position that it might be morally permissible to intentionally kill a fetus if it is literally the only option where a mother's life can be saved.
Okay. So you would say it's morally permissible if the mother's life is being saved.
I would say that this discussion is definitely making me lean more towards that position.
Okay, you don't want to say it, but it's okay. That's nice of you to say that. I appreciate it.
Well, I have to think about it more. Is that okay?
That's definitely okay, but that the you have already pointed out the dilemma in which you find yourself now. The problem is that if you agree with that, then your first statement becomes a problem because you've already stated that it is always immoral to kill an innocent human being. But now you say it's okay to kill a human being if I'm saving someone. So it's not always. So you can think about, like, I mean, you don't even have to go. You don't even have to go that far. So you don't.
This discussion we're having now, it was something that I thought might happen, which was why I rephrased it to say generally.
Yeah, right? But generally, if you use generally, then you can't use a deductive argument because then abortion could be...
The deductive argument would be, the conclusion would be abortion is generally impermissible, right?
No, it would just not follow.
You could speak of fringe cases, but...
It would not follow. If you say it is generally immoral to intentionally kill a human being, then this means that there is cases in which it is okay to kill innocent human beings. Correct? So in that, then you say most abortions intentionally kill an innocent human being. So it doesn't follow that therefore abortions are morally wrong, because it could be that abortions are one of the cases in which it is not immoral to do that. So your whole deductive argument collapses if you put generally in there. If I say some humans are mortal, okay? Some humans are mortal. Socrates is a human. Does it follow that Socrates is mortal? No, it doesn't.
What if I put the first premise like this? It is wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human person except to save someone's life. Most abortions kill innocent human persons without needing to save someone's life. Therefore, most abortions are wrong.
That's what I'm trying. That's what I was trying to. Since the beginning of our discussion, that's what I'm trying to bring you to rephrase it, because that's the only way you can have a deductive argument. I was trying to help you, basically.
All right.
But
I appreciate that.
Which doesn't mean that I'm not gonna attack it anyways. But
that's fine.
Yeah.
No, I appreciated this discussion because it's definitely making me think about some of the ramifications of my view and other considerations, like you said, like whether it actually is permissible to kill an innocent person if it means saving somebody's life, right? So that's something that I have to continue to look at. So I appreciate this discussion, but now let's talk about most cases of abortion.
Yeah, but now you have the problem that you have said before, that it is morally permissible to kill the mother's life over the fetus or zygote's life without any additional information about what we have. So we can already deduct that the mother as a person is not the same as the zygote as a person. It's not the same thing. If it would be the same thing, you couldn't answer that question so generally.
Okay, so then.
So from that, it follows that the zygote, at least in some capacity, is not in the same way a person as the mother is.
Well, so I think that part of the difference will just be like the position that the unborn human is in. Like if we are reaching a point where the mother's life directly affects the mother's life, the mother's existence is directly threatening the life of the unborn child, we might just want to evacuate the unborn child and see if we can save them that way, because that would be a morally preferable. I think that failing to save someone is morally preferable to intentionally killing someone, but I can see why you could have a situation where.
Wait, you're just playing word games, because you either kill the mother, you either like it's not even too comparable. Basically, you have a certain amount of chance that the mother is going to die, which is like, I don't know, 1%, 2%, 0.01%, and you have a 100% chance that the zygote's going to die. But you're still okay with saying, yeah, let's kill the zygote and let's let the mother live. I think that shows that the mother is a full-fledged person and the zygote is not. So basically, I
don't actually think that follows, but you know, I definitely
I have a
see
question.
the force of that prediction.
If you would let me back up a little bit. Life is precious, okay? Life generally is precious. I think we both agree on that. But and killing innocent life or killing life in general is not good. Like, it's always, we have intuitively a feeling for it being bad, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a human life, it doesn't matter if it's an animal life. I'm not a vegan, but I still think like there is some value to life in general, okay? So I would not be okay with, I would kind of think that it is morally wrong for someone to just like pack up 1,000 insects and gas them. I would kind of feel bad about it. Like, I would say that's kind of evil. Like, that's morally wrong. But I would be totally fine with somebody driving for 10 hours and on the highway killing the exact same amount of flies, okay, or insects. So somehow,
because there's a proportionate good that's being pursued.
Yeah, so somehow I'm saying, okay, it is worth me getting quickly from point A to point B is worth 1,000 insects. Okay, so that already shows you how little the value of one insect is in our moral framework, right? It's pretty low, right? We like, even if we would say 10,000, I would be like, yeah, let's go, let's drive. So in the same way, you can look at it with everything. Basically, we look at a really old person. You have one organ donor for 2 people, and you have a really old person, and you have a young person, and the old person is for sure gonna die, and the young person is just gonna have a like higher life quality of life by getting that organ. We're gonna give that organ to the young person, because just the value of even within humans, we have that natural, like, we have that understanding that there's some value to life, right?
Right.
So we say,
so here that actually illustrates what I was going to try and get at, which is we could say but sure, we may have
just one.
extra.
Let me just go one last step. Let me just go one last step,
Okay.
and then I'll let you attack it. But I think it is very obvious that if we look at zygotes, which is like the fertilized egg, that the value of that life, if it's pro-lifer or pro-choicer, it doesn't matter, is not even remotely close to that of a born baby, for example. And we can tell by, for example, you having to admit basically that you would save the mother's life, which is the correct choice, by the way. I'm completely behind that. But the reason for that is that it is really obvious to us that a zygote, a fertilized egg, is not a person. That it would be a horrible thing to force a mother to die or to not give her the medical care she needs in order to save one cell. You know?
Okay.
That would be
So,
like insane. And so this already shows
right,
you what
I'd like
about the personhood.
I'd like to jump in here at this point.
Sure.
Okay, so I think what you illustrated earlier. So we can give a couple of examples. So let's say you're in a burning building. There's a 70-year-old and there's a 3-year-old. Are you gonna save the 70-year-old or the 3-year-old?
I think most people would save the 7-year-old.
The 70-year-old.
Sorry, the what did you say? 3-year-old? 3-year-old, yeah, not
A
7-year-old.
3-year-old and a
Yeah.
70-year-old.
Yeah, I think most people would
Right,
save
okay,
the
so
3-year-old if they can
right,
only
and I
save
think
one.
I think that's right. But there are a lot of factors that go into a decision like that. But one of the factors that's not going into a decision like that is the 70-year-old isn't a person at all worthy of any moral consideration.
No, that's not what I'm
Right?
saying.
So, well, no. So what I'm trying to point out is that I think that the pro-life position would be that there are a lot of extrinsic reasons why we might choose to save the mother's life over the unborn child. But that doesn't mean the unborn child is not a person who ordinarily would receive, legal protection.
Mhm.
And
So-
again, we are talking about fringe cases here, which is fine because it's
What
important to
fringe
hash
cases?
these out too. Huh?
What fringe cases?
Fringe case. I would say that it is a fringe case where a mother's life is being threatened by the pregnancy and there is no alternative option other than to directly kill the fetus.
Oh, but it shows it's not because it's very I'm not, doesn't matter how many times it happens. Just the fact that we had to, like, basically you had to agree to that, and you did agree to that. That already shows. Like, I can give you another example if you want. Would you rather save 100 zygotes or one baby? Like, it's pretty easy. Like, do you know that
the burning building example?
Yeah, the
I
burning
would say
building
the same
example.
thing. It's like there are a lot of extrinsic factors that would cause me to save the newborn over the fetuses in a petri dish or
Yeah,
something.
you
like
don't
that,
see
right?
the relation to the personhood, right?
Yeah, but I don't think it follows from that the people I didn't save aren't persons.
No,
You have to
no.
give some other
Yeah.
consideration that
No.
shows they aren't persons.
It shows something else. It just shows the value of life it has in our moral framework. And one of the factors, like for example, with the old person, okay? So we are saying the reason why we would save a child rather than a really, really old person is that we would say, okay, this old person is not going to have that big of life expectancy as the old person, child or the old person. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? So life expectancy. So it has nothing to do with personhood. I agree 100%. But it's just one example where we have where we know what the life is worth. Generally, all things equal, right? Other than this one aspect.
Okay, so
wait,
are you saying there's no difference?
Wait, 1 second. I have to finish, bro. Sorry, I just have to finish this.
That's fine.
But with the example of the zygote and the baby, there the difference is that there it's even the opposite. The baby has a smaller life, like mathematically has a smaller life expectancy than the zygote, right? So it can't be like that. It's not that factor. It could be another factor. In my opinion, it is
other factors.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's personhood. But you are right; it doesn't follow directly from that. What I just wanted to show is that the value, like that's the reason why I say that abortion is permissible, is because the value of life, the mother not wanting to go through a painful process and a dangerous process such as birth, is worth aborting a zygote, because the zygote's life, we just talked like 100 zygotes versus one baby, is so little to all of us, not only to pro-lifers, not only to pro-choicers, also to pro-lifers, is so little that traumatizing a woman going through that childbirth or even putting her at danger and in pain is not worth doing that, and therefore the abortion is valid. Personhood is another topic. I can also go into that. I also believe that personhood doesn't happen at conception, but we can also talk about that, or you can just first go into.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, there was a lot there. I think that I would just say that yeah, I think that you're right that from a pro-life perspective, I would say that there are just other factors between why I might choose to save, a newborn over, 10 zygotes in a petri dish, and that don't necessarily track onto personhood or like so diminished a value of life that they're not worth saving under any conditions. So, and then the
Sure, yeah,
next thing
you
I'll
don't have to.
say is
Yeah.
the next thing I'll say is,
Still valid
like I
argument.
said, you're putting me on the fence between the two positions of like whether it's permissible to kill someone innocent in order to save another's life. But okay, so taking the position that it's permissible to kill someone, like to kill an innocent person to save someone else's life. Taking that position, I would say that the mother's life there would actually have to be a proximate threat to the mother's life and, proportionate benefit. So, I don't think that it would be permissible just to say, oh, pregnancy in general is dangerous and therefore any abortion is permissible if a woman, like.
Yeah, and
So
that's
I
something.
think that there would actually have to be a proximate threat of life. So like the doctor's walking up to you and saying, your prognosis is bad unless we do this.
Yeah, but that's something we can definitely talk about. Like that, but that just opens up the possibility for abortion being morally permissible, because just as you have like the train example, you would be okay with like killing 1 million insects just for a quick ride, which is like nothing, which is not important. Like, you know what I mean? Which shows the value of the life. And in the same way, if you want to be consistent,
Okay,
if
so
if
yeah, like I said,
wait,
that's what.
wait,
Okay,
wait, I have to finish. In the same way, if you want to be consistent, you have to say, okay, I was just ready to kill 100 zygotes for one baby, or even I could even raise that number. And at the same time, like you know that not all fertilized eggs make it to implantation, and not all implanted zygotes end up developing further, but like most of them are going into a tissue. Like most of them are being just flushed out by the next period. So we already know like how that this is not nothing yet. Like there is nothing there yet. So if you look at it that way, putting a mother through this, forcing her basically to go through that, doesn't seem to me doesn't seem convincing to me. That's not the final
right.
argument. We can discuss
Right.
that, but that's
So
something that
then
would
at that
open
point,
up the debate. Yeah.
So yeah, then at that point, I would say that like your issue is with whether the unborn are persons, right? Or at least whether the
Sorry to
early unborn are
interrupt,
persons.
but the time limit is up. It's been
Yeah.
1 hour. If you want to go into the personal argument for like 20 minutes, that's completely fine, or we can go into questions.
I'll leave it up to
I'm good
my
with either.
opponent.
Oh, well, I mean, do you want to talk about personhood?
Yeah, sure. I mean, let's just quickly. I can just give you my feelings about it, like the way I think about it. There is the idea that personhood begins at, like, you have different options. Personhood begins at conception. Personhood begins at implantation. Personhood begins at consciousness, whatever that means. Like, or personhood begins when you have a brain. Like there is so many steps, and basically the question is, okay, which one is the best? Like which one would make the most sense? And that would definitely exclude the ones that have internal conflicts, where there is no that would lead to I'm sorry, how do you say it? That would lead to internal conflicts where that you couldn't resolve. And for example, with the argument that personhood begins at conception is just not possible because you have too many cases where this would not make any sense. For example, one of them is identical twins. Like personhood is defined by, or also a human being is defined by an individual. So the moment you have identical twins, where the zygote then splits into two, in that moment you have the problem of identity and there is no more individual. There is two all of a sudden. So personhood can't
So
start there. That's the
I
first
would say
problem.
that it's no, I don't think that.
Wait. The
Okay, yeah,
second
that's fine.
problem,
I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
yeah. The second problem is also with cases in which the DNA argument, like you would have to first ask yourself, okay, why is it even at conception, and why not other steps? And the argument is that the DNA is that it's a growing organism with a unique DNA, and there again you would have the problem with the twins, and you would also have the problem with cancer. There is actually a mixed case where the embryo, where the zygote evolves to a cancer, but you would have the problem with cancer where it's also an organism that is growing inside the mother and is also has also different unique DNA to the mothers. So that doesn't work either. So I just think that's a really, really bad place to start personhood. It doesn't work. It has lots of problems.
Okay,
As a
I can
concept,
answer all three of those.
there's better ways. Yeah.
Okay, so I can answer all three of those because I don't think that actually I don't know that any of those like poses a dilemma to personhood at conception. So you asked you pointed out twinning. I would say that it's at this point in time it's unclear whether twinning causes the death of the original zygote or whether the zygote actually just like so to look at it from a personhood perspective, it could be the case that one person emerges from another person at the moment of twinning, or it could be the case that that first person dies and two new persons
Do you know
arise
what
that.
individual means? Like in its original meaning? Like what it actually means?
Sure,
You know,
you want to explain it?
yeah, it means indivisible. Like it's already in there.
Okay, well, I'm saying that there are cases when, like, say, a an individual can arise from another individual, like say in pregnancy. So, like another this could be. It's not clear scientifically clear yet what exactly is happening at twinning. Whether it's
But
the
it's not.
original.
It's not by.
No, it is pretty clear, by the way. Like,
Okay,
it
so,
is clear.
or maybe it's not philosophically clear whether the first individual dies and two new individuals arrive in its place, or if the
We would not speak about an individual if it could split in two.
I don't see why. I guess I don't see why not.
Because that's the definition.
Well,
so the personhood, like identity, is that it's one and it's numerically identically one. So there is just one unique thing of that. That's why pro-lifers are arguing for the DNA case. So they're saying, okay, you have a sperm, you have the egg, and these both have DNA, and there is a third DNA forming base. Or I don't really know, actually. To be completely honest, I don't really know how it works. But the argument is that there is a new DNA emerging, and so this new DNA is one person. So if you say one person, this is one person. Wait. This is one person, and this one person started at that point, and then all of a sudden it splits into two. So these are both still that one person, because that's when it started, right? But if we would accept that it starts later, then it would be fine. Like we would be okay with that. But if you say, and then these two zygotes grow up to become humans, and you say that person that started at that point, that person does X, and one twin does X, but the other one doesn't, there you have a conflict. You have a logical conflict, because it's no longer one person, it's two.
I'm not arguing that someone is a person just because they have unique DNA, right? Because you gave the example of tumors, right? Tumors can have, unique DNA, or like, they can have unique human DNA, but I wouldn't say that they're a person. I would say that personhood is right. A person is an individual member of a rational kind. So whenever the individual member of a rational kind begins, then personhood begins. And I would say that unique DNA is a sign that you have a new organism, right? And so
Where
you know
does
the
where does personhood start?
the thing that the pro-lifer would be concerned about is the new human organism, right? So if in the case of twinning, all that's happening is right, regardless of whether they have the same DNA or whether they were like paternal twins don't matter because that isn't an actual split at all. But um, all that the pro-lifer has to say is like, okay, another organism has arisen from this, right? So now there are two persons. I don't think that that causes like an identity conflict from a pro-life perspective, and that also rules out something like a tumor because tumors aren't organisms, right?
I'm
They're
sorry, but if you are talking about medicine, please keep the misinformation law
No,
because
but it's
this
okay.
is just
That's not
twinning. This
no.
is just
It's
splitting the.
I mean, I'm not the doctor. He's not the doctor, and I don't know. I think I don't think you're a doctor
well,
either.
I'm
So
trying to talk about this from a philosophical perspective. I'm trying
yeah,
to avoid
I
like
don't think we should
you
get
know
into the medical thing. Like
Yeah, like,
it's a philosophical
that's
question. Like
fine.
no doctor is ever gonna tell you, oh, this is where life begins, because the doctor can only tell you, oh, this is where DNA forms. He can tell you when the brain forms, and then we as a society have to philosophically, or we have to deduct
Yeah.
logically where life starts. Not the doctor can tell you that.
I thought it was going on like it was trying to refute already the 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 twinning is a process in which somebody like the first let's say DNA or person creates another, but that's not how it works. Just to say.
no, I don't think that was necessarily what I was trying to say.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you have an identity. Like personhood is tied to an identity, and if you have the identity, it cannot be split into two.
Can we clone adults?
You can clone adults, but they will not be the same person.
Right, and I suppose that couldn't I just say that the same thing is happening at twinning?
Yeah, but then you would have to say that one is a person. One started the reason why you don't have problems with cloning is because you have one person started his personhood, okay, whenever that is. Let's say it started when it has a brain, okay. So the personhood started, it went on, then we cloned that person, and the moment of cloning also has a start of the new personhood, and we don't have
Yeah,
we don't run into any problems.
right.
But the
So
problem is
I would
if you put the start of the personhood for two persons before the splitting, then you run into problems.
okay, I see the issue here because no conception is occurring at the split.
Yeah, basically it would have to split, then then conception would have to happen to both of them, and then you could still say, okay, there is personhood starts at
Right,
conception.
that would be like paternal, similar to paternal twins, but not quite the same. Yeah.
No, paternal twins is like completely different, because there you have like two as far as I know, don't quote me
No,
on it, but
no,
as
I'm
far as I know,
saying that
it's
the
like
result would be similar to paternal twins. I wasn't saying that the process was exactly the same.
okay.
But I think that maybe something that could clear up the issue is conception per se isn't the isn't like the necessary condition. I would just say that the necessary condition is that an organism has begun, and I would say that at twinning, a new organism appears.
Why new? Because new DNA.
I would just say because it's a physically separate organism that is on its own developmental path towards adulthood.
Couldn't you say the same thing about anything that grows inside the mother?
Well, no, organisms. I would say that an organism is a So I guess from a philosophical perspective, the way that I would say is a living member of a species that is developing towards mature adulthood.
What does it
Tumors
mean?
are tumors are unorganized clusters of cells that cannot grow into a member of any that cannot grow into. They're not on a developmental path towards adulthood. They're not on a developmental path towards anything. It's just uncontrolled cell growth. It's biological life, but it's not an organism.
Wait, you said so too many things. Can you state this again? Like you said, why is the fertilized egg? Why is that a new organism inside the mother? Like,
Because
sorry, why is it a
developmental.
person? Like, I let you allow you to sidetrack me.
Okay, yeah. So
why is it a person? Yeah, why does personhood start there? That's the question. We're not talking about
personhood
being a new organism, because also bacteria, like, yeah.
No, so all I was trying to point out is that we were having some issues with, drawing the line at conception, and I was only pointing out that conception is just the marker by which most human organisms come into existence. And
Conception is the marker where most human come into existence.
Most human organisms come into existence. And then
not most, like all of them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's...
No, because some human organisms come into existence at twinning.
Okay, so you're saying personhood. Okay.
Personhood is tied to the existence of an individual human organism. And personhood ends when the organism ends. Personhood begins when the organism begins. That would be my stance. So,
but you just I'm
only trying to point out that I don't think twinning is a counterexample.
You have just switched organism for personhood. It's like the same. Like you still have to then explain why the organism begins there. Why doesn't it begin, for example? Why doesn't it, like, the organism begins there because there is new DNA, right? That's your argument.
I think my argument would be that an organism begins there because we have a biological life that is on a developmental path towards adulthood, and it is physically separate.
Okay, I agree that the organism begins there. Why does personhood begin there?
Oh, okay. Sorry. I think you said you still have to argue for why the organism begins there, and I was like, wait.
I mean, I think I could even argue that, because you could say that also the sperm already being in the like you have the uterus, right? So you have the sorry, I'm not really familiar with the whole terminology, but the moment that the sperm enters the woman, isn't there the problem? Like, couldn't you say that that's the beginning? Or why does it have to be the moment where the sperm touches the egg? Because after that, it's also in the inside, there's stuff happening. And sometimes I think it takes up to 48 hours until the formation of the new DNA. So it's always like the point, like the starting of the organism is not, why is it there? Why not the entrance of the sperm?
Right. The reason I would say that is because the sperm without fertilization is never going to be on a developmental path towards adulthood.
But the same goes for implantation.
It's the body part rather than.
But same goes for implantation. Without implantation, that's the best argument actually for, like, many scientists actually also argue for implantation as the beginning of the new organism, because without the implantation of the fertilized egg into the uterus, it's impossible to the fertilized egg would just get flushed out.
Right. It would. I think.
So that argument wouldn't work, because
you could foresee that there are other ways that you could continue the developmental path of the zygote.
No, just as you need the fertilized egg for the sperm, you also need the uterus for the fertilized egg.
No, because we're reaching a point where we're reaching a point where technology could allow us to develop zygotes into embryos and then into fetuses.
Yeah, but
my only point is that it's not in principle like a necessary condition
Okay.
for the
So
developmental path to continue.
you can ask for a hypothetical. You can say, but what if we had that? Like you can ask me that, but for the way it is, you have to admit that that's the way it is, right? Like
I
you
think I'm just
you can still ask me for a hypothetical, but for the way it is, you have to admit that's the truth, right?
I'm saying that the unique DNA is definitely something that is a important marker for why something is a body part rather than simply, or why something is a new organism rather than a mere body part,
Yeah, then
right?
cancer,
Yeah, but
twins,
so
it's
the
not
difference
sufficient
between
for
those two
personhood.
is that, right, a cancer is not sufficient for personhood because it's never going to be on a developmental path towards adulthood. I don't think that anyone would ever say that a cancer is an organism. It's just uncontrolled cell growth. It's a biological life, but not an organism.
I would say it's an organism, but not a person,
Yeah, I don't. Well,
because
I think that
it has
just as
separate
a matter of
DNA.
fact, it's not correct.
It has different DNA, right? And it's growing. So I think it
Well, I think that,
qualifies
right, I
for.
think that like different DNA is a sign that something is an organism, but
But I'm not even
maybe a
arguing.
condition.
I'm not even arguing that the cell that is starting the human development, that the cell is an organism. Like I'm not arguing that. I'm just arguing that for conception being the marker for personhood is a really bad place for it, because we run into logical inconsistencies.
Right, I guess I've just been trying to dispute that.
Yeah, but it's not really working because you haven't solved my inconsistent my that you were trying, you were on the path doing that, but then you kind of went into a different direction, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it can be really easy to end up,
Yeah,
pretty deep in the weeds in side
I
conversations and
see.
trying to clear things up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what I guess what dilemma would you like to see more adequately answered? And I will have to go eventually because, I've got church, but
I'm good. Like I think we can go into the discussion, right?
Yes, it's like the timer would have ended in 2 minutes, so yeah, we can go into questions.